Wait, there's more. Oh. Saturday, October 8th, 2033. Almost a year has passed since that fated day where everything ended and became the start of everything. And this day is... Where are you? Under the slightly chilly October-autumn sky, I stroll by the riverside while casually keeping my hands in my pockets. The sparkling sunlight repeatedly and coldly reflects off the surface of the river. I slowly pick a pebble off the ground with my right hand and throw it sidearm pitch style towards the river. The pebble slips through an opening in the fence, bounces off the water surface 4 times, and sinks into the water as if it's vanishing. And so I watch the surface of the river where the pebble sank for a while, but eventually I try to put my hands in my pockets again and walk off. But before I do, my left hand, covered by a leather glove, suddenly catches my eye. To make sure it's functioning okay, I open it, and then close it tightly. There's no problems with it. Of course it needs maintenance every now and then, but it's proven to be no obstacle to everyday life. This body is 2/3 machine. Aside from that, I am completely me. I can't feel his presence inside me. Not since half a year ago, since the third eclipse on April 15th, 2033. I see a family of 4 a slight distance away from me. A lively boy of 4 to 5 is riding on his father's shoulders, a wide smile crossing his face. Next to them is a girl about the same age as the boy. Maybe they're twins? Who's clinging to the mother's back and sleeping. The boy points to something in the distance and says something. When they hear that, his parents look at each other and smile. The girl disregards them and continues sleeping. I survey my surroundings. They're full of the lightly drifting wind and peaceful everyday sights. Everything in those nightmare-esque days I experienced last year truly do feel like they were something out of a dream. 1 year ago, October 19th, 2032, I remember the events that happened after that commotion. Thanks to Yumi and Ishtar's help, I was able to safely get Mutsuki out of Enigma. I then took her and left the place so we could escape. I knew that it would only be a matter of time before Cyberforce and the JSDF, who had both been dispatched to suppress the terrorism, would come rushing in. It was obvious that if we stayed there, we'd be taken into custody and assaulted with interrogations. But above all else, I didn't want Mutsuki, who'd been wasting away the whole time, to be bombarded with the inevitable rebuking and curious stares. Although I didn't explain a thing to her, Mutsuki obeyed me without a word, as if she'd already surmised everything. And so we quietly used a secret escape passage that those outside still didn't know about and successfully escaped the core. At that time, I didn't know what was occurring in the outside world. According to the news, it seems that Code's terrorism was quickly suppressed. It appears that the ringleader behind the terrorism, Enlil Izumo-Tsukasa, was able to successfully escape from the scene and evaded capture. Even now, she's been made an internationally wanted criminal by public safety, but her whereabouts still remain unknown. Is she alive, or is she dead? Perhaps she discovered bonds. Code went into hiding underground afterwards, and though they apparently still acted in accordance with their ideals, it seems that they considered their role over and broke up their organization after a certain incident that occurred half a year ago. Even Exarch ended up completely dissolving due to that certain incident, but that's another story. Now then, what became of the others who were caught up in that maelstrom of incidents? It seems that Yagoi-sensei was able to sneak away from that chaos, but she told me almost nothing about how she got out of that situation. She just quoted Napoleon with that usual playing dumb tone of hers and said, "Listen up, boy. Impossible is a word to be found only in the dictionary of fools." That said, it's beyond my area of imagination as to how she obtained them, but it seems Sensei's got connections of sorts even with the authorities. If that's not it, then there's no way she could have slipped out of that encirclement. Even though I grilled her about it, she said nothing and simply faced a random direction while puffing out menthol smoke. Come to think of it, I noticed that after that, whenever she would raise her hand to smoke, a heretofore unfamiliar ring on that hand's finger would shine conspicuously in the light. I have an idea. Yayoi-sensei sheltered us for a while afterwards. Because Mutsuki and I were too deeply involved with that incident. If Cyberforce found us, they'd probably never cease questioning us about things we don't want to be asked over and over again. Of course, we were concerned with Exarch and Code's movements too, but what we wanted to get away from above all else was the media. There's no doubt that they would try to totally exploit us until they completely forgot about the incident, like miners trying to exhaust a vein of precious minerals until they ran dry. It took half a year after the incident until the world regained its calm and we were able to return home. Come to think of it, what became of Aya and Yumi's friends at Criminal? Due to Enigma being shut down, IO lost its function. In other words, Shadow Nulls, who have no substance, can no longer move autonomously. If that's the case, then since Mutsuki was awakened, everything about them was reset and exchanged. Yumi's friends and Aya should be currently sleeping quietly while impatiently waiting for their masters who haven't shown up to access them. When I tried indirectly asking Sensei about it, "Oh, you mean Meg and the others? They're still living now, in paradise," she said with a smile. In her hands was an empty exabyte crystal. I felt utterly confused. Paradise, I think that means Babylon, but what did she mean by living? Was it a symbolic meaning? Or are they existing as NPCs in Babylon, as automaton-like beings who just follow the same predetermined path length over and over again? Or is IO still functioning now by a different method, even with the loss of Enigma? No, but if for argument's sake the Shadow Nulls' autonomous actions have resumed, then what's happened to their memories? Do Yumi's friends and Aya, who were suddenly reset, remember the events of that day, even partially, or have they completely lost memory of them? Since I stopped diving into Babylon after that incident, I don't know the answer to that. I almost forgot to mention, but Babylon is still continuing to quietly exist underground. It became impossible for it to operate publicly after that incident, but it's been hid from general eyes through the net's confidentiality, and is only being managed by a select few volunteers. If I were to borrow Mutsuki's words, Babylon is like the rabbits on the moon. The users linked to the current Babylon are also composed only of people who understand all the circumstances. People don't want to misunderstand, but though that virtual world might have been one of the main causes linked to the tragedy, it was by no means the entire cause. And it's not like all the people who were connected to that virtual world were generally involved with that incident. You can't just assume that the people of Babylon equals terrorists. That incident was a very lamentable tragedy, so we must be careful to gather information so that it doesn't happen again. That's for certain. But simplifying the situation and participating in denouncing something and making it out to be the bad guy, generally that something bad guy tends to be a subculture that society finds difficult to understand. In an attempt to maintain the tranquility in our hearts, actions like that are mere folly that capture us in the illusion of morality play. And so ignoring reality like that could just cause a similar mistake to occur. They mustn't misunderstand. What they should be doing isn't pushing all the blame onto one party or intending to understand just by following a biased value system. That's just merely going with the flow without thinking for yourself. To a certain extent, that's a slow death. What one really needs to do is inspect all value systems and think seriously. Understand that which you don't understand, and keep maintaining the attitude of trying to understand. I know nothing, but when compared to the intellectuals of the world, I know that I know nothing. If I were to try to surpass them, then that's what it means to be self-conscious. We need to remember Socrates' words now. After that, I think you will discover the road to true understanding and resolution. And, as long as you're thinking, foolishness is not something to forget either. Time to get back on topic. It was never revealed what happened to the quantum computer that was managing Babylon after that. At the very least, I don't know. Perhaps Mutsuki might know, or have an idea, but I couldn't bear to ask her about it. So I think I should just put it aside for now. Information is something that is naturally told to people who should know it. If someone not like that wants to know it at a time they're not meant to, then they need to pay the proper compensation or suitable reparations. Those were Nergal's words. Speaking of Nergal, he's still running that back alley shop of his. Thanks to that, he's able to help me out by continuously giving me periodic maintenance and the like. That said, it seems his shop was raided by Cyberforce right after the turmoil 1 year ago. Though that might only have been totally natural given the considerably borderline illegal things he's done. When I asked him about it after he reopened his shop after a while, he gave me the same unchanging reception he's always given me. As usual, he's a blunt man whose true intentions can't be read. But for some reason, it feels like he's been less edgy with me. That's the impression I get, at least. He's also gotten to the point where at times a lonely look will cross his face, and at other times he'll retreat into absent-minded thought. I wouldn't have thought either to be possible in the past. When I told him my thoughts, all he did was go, and give me the silent treatment. Before I knew it, Nergal had washed his hands clean of conducting illegal transactions. I hear rumors of Yumi every now and then. It seems she's also visited Nergal's shop too, probably because she also needs periodic maintenance. I've also heard stories of her from the proprietress of her favorite Monjiaki restaurant. I haven't seen Yumi since the day she vanished before me. No, to be accurate, I've met up with her once, a certain incident being the trigger. To tell the truth, I also know her contact address, and I briefly talked to her over the phone once when I had business with her. But that's it. If you ignore those 2 times, then you might as well say Yumi and I have cut off contact with each other and are staying that way. If I put an effort in trying to see her, I might be able to see her whenever, but I still can't gauge the distance between Yumi and I. Come to think of it, did Yumi go back to school? Kyoka Private Academy, which had been closed for a long time due to the influence of the incident, finally resumed lessons after 10 months of inaction. Of course, the management ranks were reformed, and now that Exarch's been dissolved, management has been passed over to a new sponsor. But fortunately, it seems most of the former teachers were retained. Only natural, of course, most of them were completely unrelated to that incident. And Yayoi-sensei also returned to her old post. Though she's repeatedly encouraged me to return to school, I just can't bring myself to do it. We have things we need to settle and things we need to think about. There's just way too many of them, so I don't have time to go to school. And besides, I'm not the Aoi Hinata of the family on the family register. And besides, I'm not the Aoi Hinata on the family registry anymore. Due to Cyberforce's arrangements, I'm a completely different person living a completely different life. I can no longer return to the time when I was Aoi Hinata, and above all else, I'm a bit scared of returning as well. So I haven't asked Yayoi-sensei at all about what happened at school. Finally, I'll talk a little bit about Mutsuki and I. Ever since then, the 2 of us have barely talked together about the past and the incident. That said, it's not like we don't talk at all. We exchanged normal words in our everyday lives, and have been maintaining fairly smooth communication between us. If anyone saw us, they'd think we were very close siblings. The 2.5 years up until now, since Mutsuki disappeared, have been a blank of time. If we're talking about the period we stopped talking to each other heart to heart, that was even longer. But the current us were able to break the deadlock of that blank in the blink of an eye. The reason why is because in the process of looking for Mutsuki, I learned a lot of things about her that I didn't know and was able to understand various things. After Mutsuki left home, she saw many things in a new light, and she also ended up learning about all sorts of things while she was asleep. The vast amounts of blank pages have almost completely filled up. By the time we reunited, we already knew about each other even more than that. There's been barely any need to specifically supplement that with words. And like that, we've lost our distant past and have regained a comfortable sense of distance. Those are the details of the events that occurred after that day. I lean against the riverside fence and casually gaze at the stream that's flowing from upriver to downriver while thinking about these sorts of things. By the way, as for why I'm recalling my memories like this, it's so I don't forget about her. The wind feels like it's getting colder. I move away from the fence and head towards the staircase leading up to the banks. After walking for a bit, I spot the family of four I saw earlier ahead of me. It seems that sleeping girl on her mother's back woke up when I wasn't paying attention. She's looking at the sky with a happy expression. Is something in the sky? There's a look of curiosity in her eyes, making it feel like she spotted a fairy flying in the sky or something. A fairy? I look up to the sky as if lured in. Ah, there really is something flying there. It's an everyday sight that I see. I can see a giant white blimp to the west. It's slowly moving from north to south. Is some company running some kind of campaign? All I see on the side of the blimp is a vibrant drawing of flowers. Neither the company name nor the product name or anything like it is written there. Suddenly, the picture of those flowers remind me of words filled with slight hope. Where are you?